We are West Side Association, and we are in our November meeting. For all of you who are not familiar with West Side, we are an organization that exists to encourage the growth and promotion of West Side businesses and our community. So we are excited for our presentation today. Normally we get started with a chamber report. I did see John on there. John, are you wanting to go ahead with a chamber report for us? West Side is an affiliate of the chamber. So John, if you want to update us on some of the chamber happenings, that would be great.
All right, thanks, Rachel. First of all, I see that Al Ott is on the line, and congratulations to Congressman Grothman. Big win for him. I think it was 60-40, good margin of victory there. So people have spoken. That's good stuff. Glenn has been real good to us over the years he's been in Congress. So if you want to share that with the Congressman Al, we appreciate that. He's been doing a great job representing business interests in Washington. He's right on policy for us. So that's good stuff.
Will do. Thanks, John.
Yep. A couple things. November should be a pretty active month again for us. OC Connections coming up on the 10th. For those of you unfamiliar with OC Connection, it's kind of it's a networking group that get together at the chamber, usually 25, 30 people, and they go around the room and talk about their business, do some networking, try to make referrals to one another. It's all been virtual these days, so it's kind of a good way to reach out to 20, 30 other business people and kind of reach out and make them aware that their businesses are alive and well, and hopefully make referrals to each other. So that's next Tuesday at 7:45 in the morning. So just for all these things, you just go right onto our website under the calendar of events, and you'll see this. On the 11th and also the 18th of November, we have sessions 1 and 2 on using LinkedIn and video marketing to increase sales. We have a gentleman, Mike Raymond, who's with Image Road Productions, who's doing that series for us. He's done a couple for us over the past couple months, and he's done a very, very nice job with that. Friday the 13th, November 13th, we have our Amplify Watch It, keeping an eye on digital tech. It's a cybersecurity program from 10 until noon. We have Jim Dubinsky, he's Managing Director of Stellar Blue Technologies, Matt Longmire, Information Technology Officer with Bank First, and John Matz will know this guy, John Sewell, he's investigator with the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department, will be on hand, be part of that with a special presentation with Special Agent with the FBI, Brian Franz. We've had Brian a couple times years ago on some things. Very interesting guy, talking about protecting your data, protecting your company, and securing company data. So, by all means, check into that. That should be a real good program. We also have our Leading from the Top series continues. That'll be on November 12th, 8 o'clock. Joe Thompson and Vicki Updike with Differentiating Strategies continues that series, and here they'll be talking about accountability, very high level type discussions in terms of strategy for companies, and a lot of CEOs join that call. We have our social hub on Tuesday, November 17th. And there we're using digital advertising, how to drive more traffic to your website from online ads. Tyler Hoffman with Stellar Blue Technologies will be doing that at 8 o'clock. Then we continue with our breakfast briefings with Von Briesen and Roper. That'll be Thursday, November 19th at 8 o'clock. Here is discussion is dealing with a positive COVID test in the workplace. As that becomes more of a reoccurring event, a lot of companies have been calling about, well, I got somebody who just, was diagnosed as a positive case. What do I do? Who do I need? Do I need to inform anybody? That sort of thing. So the Von Briesen people will be discussing that. There's been a lot of earth being moved on the west side of town. Back, I think a couple Wednesdays ago, the Marriott Town Place Suites had their groundbreaking. It's under construction. I'm sure, Rachel, you see that every day. So that, well, I think they're shooting for this coming summer to be open and operating. There's also a strip center that has Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins, so you can pick up your snacks on the way to work. Although you guys have a nice cafeteria over there too, actually a nice restaurant. Next to, and then over on the other side of the highway, Chick-fil-A, I think they're looking to open in January of this year. And then there's also a Discount Tire that's under construction next to the bar on Washburn Street. So good to see a lot of activity like that happening. And in terms of events, we got a lot of things going on. We're still kind of having a wait and see approach on some of the programming that we normally would be doing in the first quarter. Our Economic Outlook Breakfast is still scheduled for, I believe it's the second Tuesday of February. And we're going to see how November shapes up here and make a call in terms of whether that'll be in person or virtual or a combination. So, one way or another, it will be held on that day. I think it's February 9th. So be on the lookout for that. We have Brian Ballou, who's with ITR Economics. If you never heard him before, he's phenomenal. He's just great in terms of his presentation and his outlook and his perspective. So that's it. If anybody has any questions, fire away and I'll try to answer them.
Sounds great. And as always, you can go to the Chamber's website. On their calendar, they've got all of their upcoming events. So thank you, John, for that update. We appreciate it. Just some old business. We started last month something in Westside called our Member Spotlight. So we are featuring one member on our Facebook page, our LinkedIn, and then on our monthly meetings. So this last month was Karen Schneider. She was our Member Spotlight. So if you haven't had a chance to check out our Facebook or LinkedIn, please head on over there, like her post. If anyone else is interested in us highlighting you in your business, please feel free to reach out to Patty and we can get you some of the questions over and get you set up for our Member Spotlight. Just some virtual housekeeping rules. We do ask for you to mute yourself for everyone to hear the best audio quality from our speaker. If you have a question, there will be a Q&A session towards the end. Feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question. We are very excited for John Matz, who is our sheriff at the Winnebago County Sheriff's Office. John is a 30-year veteran of the Winnebago County Sheriff's Office, currently serving his third term as sheriff. He began his career as a correctional deputy in 1990, transferring to the Patrol Division in 1993. John has held various leadership positions in multiple divisions throughout his career. He is a graduate of the National Sheriff's Academy as well as the FBI National Academy. John also served 29 years in the Wisconsin Army National Guard, retiring as a Command Sergeant Major in 2017. In 2009, he and his son deployed to the Middle East in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. So please join me in welcoming Sheriff John Matz.
Thank you. I will share my screen and begin a PowerPoint. Let's see, can everybody see that?
I see heads nodding yes.
Yes, okay,
All
good.
right.
Good. Okay, just to talk a little bit about the Sheriff's Office and the different divisions that we have. And
Sorry, John, do you have your presentation up?
I do. Is
okay.
it?
We just see a file.
Okay.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, that's why I've got an expert here.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Okay. You have.
I'm sharing, but it's open here.
Okay, so let's go get out of the sharing this where you're.
No share.
Let's do this. All right, hang on here. I'm gonna close this one. All right, hang on. Let's go.
Right there.
Ooh, there we go. You think after 6 months we'd be experts at this, but it doesn't work like that, does it? We'll get it.
We've all been there.
Yeah. All right, let's try this. And we're gonna go.
I think if you click at the bottom with it says share screen,
Yeah.
it should show which screens, and you should be able to pick which window you want to share.
Yeah, it's just linking to our network, which is where it said the file. Do you know where it is on your G drive?
I always do a find.
You do a find. Okay. Yeah, right there. Is that what you find?
No. Oh, right there. Yeah.
Okay, so this is, let's try this. I think that's going to be the same thing. Are you guys seeing it yet or no?
No,
Nothing yet? Okay.
I get dusty.
Sure. I'm like the midway IT guy. We'll get the actual IT guy. So I apologize for this. I thought that this would show up this way, but I think it's not going to show up as a PDF. And we got
It's okay. We've all been there.
yeah. All right, hang on.
We're all learning new things in this digital world that we're currently in.
Hey, can you come over real quick? Thanks. Eric's coming.
Okay. It makes me chuckle because he could actually just talk without the presentation and just talk and talk and talk, except you guys would have nothing to look at except his head then.
Right.
That's okay. If
Shiny.
that's
It's a little shiny, so.
It is. So I will start a little bit. I got somebody else coming over here to take a look.
yeah, no problem.
So we have 207 positions on our table of organization, and I'll go through each of those divisions, and you'll get to see a little bit of some photos of what we do and each of those divisions.
Now you can see it? Okay, now we got a thumbs up. So you can see Winnebago County Sheriff's Office. Now
All
you
right.
can see mission statement.
Great.
All right, we got it. Didn't even
Thank
need
you.
to. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
So our mission statement, as you see there, we're committed to providing comprehensive public safety to its citizens and promote a safe and secure community. We try to be as involved as we possibly can with the community. We do as much outreach as we can, and you'll see us at a lot of events, participating in our off time and supporting the community. I'll talk first about our communications division. So we have 31 positions in the comm center. We dispatch for 9 law enforcement agencies, 15 departments, an ambulance service, and then 13 first responder groups. It is the one area that I've never worked in with this agency. I was a dispatcher for a brief time at UWO when I was a student there, but this is so much different. They have 5 different screens they're looking at, and as you can see with the picture, it gets absolutely crazy in there, and they are so good at what they do. Our calls for service, we last year had 45,181 incoming emergency calls, averaging 124 calls a day. Now, not every one of those turns into something. Some of those are pocket dials and all those different things that happen with our comm center and with the 911 calls. I actually about 2 weeks ago was on my riding lawnmower, had my cell phone in the cup holder, and it called 911. So I got a phone call from one of the dispatchers and said, "Are you okay?" My number showed up, and they knew who it was, and those things happen. But many of those are emergency calls that we have to respond to. We had 89,000 incoming non-emergency calls, 246 a day, and almost 40,000 outbound calls for a total of 174,000, which is 478 calls a day. Some of those are short in nature, and others are long-term events that they are handling. Yesterday, we had a rollover on Highway 41 where the individual was trapped inside the vehicle. It started on fire. So there are multiple units there. Theta Star was called and then called off. So a lot of different events with a lot of moving pieces, and they just do phenomenal. Our corrections division is our largest division at the sheriff's office. We have 10 deputies working minimum per shift, and we also have non-sworn 2 booking security associates, and then we have 7 civilian support staff. Some of those are, we have an accountant because it's all of the accounts receivable that come in. We have booking security clerks who take care of booking the new arrestee in, as well as running our command center, which opens all of the doors and lets people into our Sallyport area. Our average counts, our daily population, which is the next slide. You can see that in 2015, 16, 17, we saw a uptick. We were averaging 311 inmates a day, and now we've seen that downward trend. There's a lot of different reasons for that. Our district attorney is in the process of starting diversion programs. We also have a diversion program here at the sheriff's office, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on the slide. But you can see that if you look at the admissions, so there are 5,500 admissions in 2015, and we're down to 5,188. But we're still over that 5,000 mark of people that are coming into our jail on a yearly basis, even though the numbers of inmates is a little bit less. The average length of stay is about 19 days. So during that 19 days, often we are just able to get the person maybe sober and back thinking clearly, and then we try to hook them up with services outside once they're released and make appointments for them and do what we can to help them while they're here. You can spend up to a year in the county jail with being sentenced to the jail, and that happens occasionally, not often, but it does. We do see some more complex homicide cases that go a little bit longer than a year. So they'll spend more than a year, but they're not sentenced to jail for more than a year. This is just our reports and security checks. So we had 5 Chapter 51 or 55s. Those are individuals that are a threat to themselves or others. People do need medical support while they're here. In 2020, we will have 24-hour nursing service for our inmates in our facility. And you can see that, even in jail, protecting them from themselves is one of the hardest things that we can do. We had 4 suicide attempts, use of force incidents that occurred 15 in 2019. We do have individuals that we refer for criminal charges while they're in our facility, whether it's damage to property or battery to an inmate, whatever it might be. So there are instances where we actually have criminal charges come out of their incarceration. We purchased a secure body scanner a few years ago. It was utilized almost 13,000 times in 2019. So what that does is it tells us whether or not an individual has anything any body cavities when they come into our facility. We had a serious issue with heroin coming into our jail, heroin and other illegal drugs. We actually had a couple of overdoses within our facility. We purchased this, and although it doesn't catch everything, it really has made a great difference in contraband coming into our facility. So these are just some images of contraband and where they're located. You can use your imagination, I guess. And we have found multiple instances where drugs mainly are in body cavities, and we'll take them to the hospital to have that removed. Our health services unit, we have a lot of inmates that are on medications. They typically don't take care of themselves real well on the outside, so when they come here, we try to get them back on the medications that help them perform better or stay out of jail when they're on the outside. So not only do we get them back on those medications, but we give them a small supply when they leave here to try to get them through the next few days and then set them up with appointments beyond that. Inmates that go on our withdrawal protocol, whether it is alcohol or it's drugs, you can see that it is rising, and this year is going to be even higher. Even though our jail counts are still coming down, the number of individuals that are on our withdrawal protocols will go up. And the total number of inmates that are on psychotropic medications, you can see that has also gone up since 2015. We try to get them again leveled off. We do have many of these individuals that have mental health issues, and medications help them not only through their stay here, but then once they leave our facility. You can see the number of prescriptions and why we need to have medical staff here evaluating our inmates on a daily basis. Our court services unit, this is changing dramatically since COVID. We don't have nearly the number of in-person appearances in court that we had prior to COVID. So in some ways, it's saving us a little bit of money on manpower and with miles that are traveled. So video court and Zoom appearances are much more prevalent, and we try to maximize that technology on a daily basis. Our work release unit, we no longer have Hubers coming in and out of our facility. With COVID, we have tried to limit the number of people coming into our facility and leaving and coming back on a daily basis, what a Huber would do. So we look for those that can meet our electronic monitoring criteria, and we are averaging 24 inmates a day. That's gone up some since COVID has hit because we don't have the Huber anymore, so we're increasing our electronic monitoring. Our alcohol monitoring, this is a 24/7 program that we've had in place since 2014. Actually, it's 2011. And we have had almost 3,000 inmates on this program. And actually, they're not inmates. These are pre-trial individuals that the court will place on our 24/7 alcohol program. And we monitor their sobriety. And they are really forced into sobriety for about 80 days, which is the time from the first court appearance until their sentencing. So this program has been very successful for us. We can see it in the recidivism that we have, the studies that we have done, and we're in the process of starting another one to look back to 2011 with those first participants and where they're at now. The anecdotal response that we're receiving from the inmates, they fill out a survey, or from the individuals that participate in it, it is very popular. It forces that sobriety. Some of them haven't spoken to their family members for a number of years, But now that they're sober, things are changing for them. Our 24/7 drug program has been in place since 2014. So it is not as successful, and I think it speaks to the addiction of drugs versus alcohol. I think that's part of it. We do our best. We require in the drug program, we require a urine test every 2 days. And we have individuals that will skip tests, or they will test hot, and it's much more prevalent than what we have with the alcohol monitoring, and the failure rate is much higher. But we still continue. We don't give up on those individuals. What happens if they do fail a test or skip a test, whether it's alcohol or drug, they're taken into custody, and then they have to go before the judge and explain why they couldn't stay sober, or why they couldn't give that test on that particular date and time. And so there's immediate consequences, as immediate as we can make it. If they miss a test, or the test is positive, our patrol supervisor gets a text. It's a web-based program, and we immediately begin to look for that person. And there's that accountability piece. Work release unit, again, not a lot going on with our our Huber, but our GPS inmates have gone up since COVID has hit. There you can see the number of alcohol participants, and we're now, since 2011, again with the alcohol ones, I believe we're over 3,000 participants. And then we have to collect DNA samples for those that commit certain crimes, and that is placed into a database. Our patrol division, we have not only your typical patrol, but we also do snow and boat patrol. These are some of our division functions within patrol. And we have special teams in our crash recon or accident recon. We have one person that teaches DARE to our outlying schools and to our private schools. We have a dive team that typically is more of a body recovery team. And then you can see the other ones there as well. Our special events, much different this year. We didn't have any. We didn't have Country USA, we didn't have Rock USA, and we didn't have Air Venture. So certainly we're looking forward, as much as our guys sometimes, the Country USA specifically can be a challenge for us. We're looking forward to those events coming back. I know that vendor has filed bankruptcy, but I do believe that outdoor events like Country USA and Rock USA will still be popular, as I don't know how long COVID is going to last. And I think people are going to be more apt to attend an outdoor event than they would a indoor concert. Our other teams are SWAT, negotiators, TAC. They have been very busy assisting the state with civil unrest. We had gone to Kenosha, Milwaukee, Sheboygan, Green Bay to assist other agencies. We have been extremely fortunate here that things have been relatively quiet. Just a couple of photos. You can see our dive team. That's one specialty team I never got on. I just didn't feel comfortable under the ice. Some statistical data. So our self-initiated calls, we go on 91 of those a day, so that traffic stops or whatever it might be. Reported calls. Our OWI arrests are down from when I was a patrolman. We were in the 400 area. I think that people are taking much more advantage of Uber and Lyft and those services, and it'll be interesting to see where we are and what COVID has changed for us as well. That's a picture of one of our squads that was hit. I think we've had 3 this year where squads are hit, typically on 41, but it does happen in other areas as well. Just have one that we're waiting for some estimates to come back on, and it can be very dangerous, and a lot of times injuries to our deputies will occur from crashes more than anything else. We do have Now, 2 canines, unfortunately, canine Franz had to be put down. He had a brain tumor that happened about 2 weeks ago. So now we're down to 2, but we do have in our budget to purchase a replacement for next year. Franz was due to be retired after 8 years with us next year, and unfortunately he passed away prior to that. Very effective tool for us. As you can see, in 2019 we had 234 deployments. They are trained for drug detection as well as tracking and personal protection. And we find typically that if we get a dog out, compliance happens very quickly. And those are some of our community programs that we do. I talked about earlier where we get involved with not just events that are solely cop related, but we try to get out in the community and be as involved as we possibly can. We have a Citizens Academy. This last year was our 4th annual. This is our 5th. They will be graduating this month, I believe, in November. It is a great opportunity for our citizens to see and experience some of the things that our deputies do. And it really kind of changes their perspective often when they have that opportunity to experience what it's like to be under stress and make decisions, or all of the things that go into an arrest, or all of the things that go into running a pod in our jail, or being a 911 dispatcher. So they get to experience all those things, and it has been very beneficial for us to get our message out, and they are very appreciative at the end of it. Special Olympics events, we're very involved with Special Olympics, continue to be. This year, again, has been extremely different, and unfortunately, these groups are hurting when it comes to donations, because all of these events are either canceled or significantly reduced. Just a few more photos. Special events I kind of talked about already. Country USA, Rock USA, kind of up in the air at this point, but again, I do believe that if the vendor is able to come out of, the current vendor is able to come out of the financial situation, or the infrastructure is already in place for another promoter to come in and restart that. I would not be surprised. I haven't heard anything, but I would not be surprised if that happened, if not next year, the year after. And of course, AirVenture, we hope that stays forever, and it's a great event. Even though there's more than 500,000 people that come to the event, we have very few problems with AirVenture. Mainly it is traffic related, and we really enjoy all these events and look for them to continue. Country USA is now a 3-day event. We do schedule 40 deputies a day there. I have worked that event. These are really good people, but sometimes they take a vacation from their brain for a few days. So there's some things that you can't unsee, but it is very interesting. And again, wildly popular, and it's something that we actually enjoy very much. Rock USA, the events have, again, 40 deputies a day. Typically, it's a little bit older crowd, and they try to get back to the classic rock. So I actually enjoy some of the bands that are there, and I'm typically in bed by 10:30. So that event is usually a little bit less labor intensive. EAA or AirVenture, 7-day event. We only schedule 10 deputies. And you can see that the crowd is different, and the attendance is much more, but the problems are much less, and typically traffic related. Our detective division, as you know or heard, we did have a double homicide that occurred in our county just 2 weeks ago, I believe. So these types of things do occur. Fortunately, they're few and far between for this particular area, but it is concerning, and we have seen violent crime increase in our area. Drug enforcement, this is what last year's drug enforcement. Heroin still continues to be an issue, but meth has gained a lot of popularity, and we continue to fight it as we have, and will continue to do so in the future. Increase in meth use and criminal behavior that goes along with it. We have found, and statistically, meth causes more crime than any other drug that we have seen, any other major drug, because of what it does to a person and what it changes. It makes them very paranoid. Many of them become more violent and very different than they were before they started using meth. So we have seen that increase, and it's, as you can see, we jump from 6,000 grams seized to 34,000 in just 1 year. This is just a little bit about our drug enforcement. This is one case where we had an individual that was high on meth, said that someone had taken his 6-month-old baby hostage, and it turns out he had dropped the baby in a backyard on his way through the neighborhood, but had no idea what he was doing, and this baby was laying there in 30 degrees, snow on the ground. And these are the unfortunate results of especially meth use and the paranoid hallucinate that happens. Property crimes, we've had multiple jurisdictional burglary rings that included all of those counties. We recovered $40,000 stolen property. Typically what happens with the stolen property is it is sold. If it's not returned to the owner, it's sold, and the victims of those crimes get to divvy up that money. It was mentioned a little bit about Mike Sewell, Crimes Against Children. This is a internet crimes against children is something that the Sheriff's Office is heavily involved in. Mike Sewell, our investigator who handles this or leads this up, is so well known and so good that the FBI has made him a federal task force officer, and it is alarming, but he is doing, and the FBI and other agencies are doing a phenomenal job to hold these people accountable. We arrested an individual last year that had walked over 300 miles to meet a teen, and was accused of sexually assaulting 8 children in Winnebago County over the last 10 years. He was given, I believe, a 10-year sentence for that. That has been adjudicated. The amount of child porn that is exchanged, the amount of child porn that is produced, not only in the United States, but throughout the world, is alarming. And those are the individuals that we are specifically looking for, those that are producing the porn and those that are sexually assaulting children, and it's occurring right now. We have, this is one in particular down in Florida. He was sexually assaulting a child, and the videos of the child were being posted. We have had live FaceTime sexual assaults occur, and Mike has led those investigations. This is another one where a cyber tip led to the arrest of an individual. Was charged in federal court and faces now 30 years for that child pornography. We've had 122 internet crimes against children arrests. That has gone up. We've investigated 59 cyber tips. We've made 11 human trafficking arrests and analyzed 250 electronics, whether that's phones or computers. We also were involved in some officer-involved shootings that happened throughout the area. 2019 Outagamie, County in 2017, Wapaka, and Sheboygan in 2016. And unfortunately, those have increased as well in our area. We're the first agency to receive, in the state, to receive Child Abduction Response Team accreditation federally. And that is if a Jamie Kloss type event had occurred, we have a plan and individuals earmarked for what they do and how they respond. And we've actually put this into play when we were missing a 4-year-old autistic child in Menasha. And we were able to find that child within 2 hours of the child being reported. Was not abducted, but did go into a house that was unlocked and was just hanging out in that house. So you can imagine the stress and how urgent it was to find that child. In December of 2015, a 10-month-old was abducted. Our CART was notified, and we recovered that child in Texas. So this is just a little bit about what our investigative resources and teams have accomplished with ICAC, recognized by Mid-States Organized Crime Information Center for a multi-state burglary spree. There were 3 individuals involved in that. One received 40 years for not only the burglary sprees, but attempted homicide. We also are a green county when it comes to our vehicles. Our squad cars run on propane. And since this PowerPoint was put together, actually, we have taken over that propane program ourselves, and we are buying our fuel at about 80 cents a gallon, depends upon the day, compared to what you're paying or I'm paying at the pump for a regular fuel, as well as it being a much greener fuel for the environment. That is all I have for the presentation. Certainly I can answer any questions that you may have.
I just have a question. With COVID, are you seeing a spike or an increase in certain cases or calls that are coming your way?
Yes, we've seen an increase in domestics. We have seen an increase in some of our juvenile crime type things. Kids aren't in school. They're not in school. I mean, I raised 3 boys. Keeping them tired and busy is the way to success. And unfortunately, and I understand it, but unfortunately, the kids have a lot more free time. And we've seen an increase in domestics, and we've seen a spike in overdoses and a spike in suicide. So our mental health has been drastically impacted by COVID. The other thing that I wanted to mention is we've seen increases in obviously the COVID cases that arise throughout the county. And I know that there's been a spike, and I know that there's been a lot of discussion about that. But we've only had 2 active cases in our jail. And those, so when someone is brought into our jail, they are immediately put into they're put into an isolation area. Now, when I say isolated, they're not in a, solitary confinement with 4 walls and nothing to look at, but they are isolated from other inmates. And that's for 14 days, regardless of whether they have any symptoms or not. And we did have 2 individuals that came in that had some symptoms. They were sent out for a test, and then they were brought back to our jail, and they were put into that quarantine area, and we were able to just keep it to those 2 particular individuals. So the protocols that we have in place are working. I would argue that you're safer in jail than you are, especially if you're not following, some of the safety precautions.
I was thinking how you said you have saved a lot of money by not having to transport people to court. Is that something that you think would continue to do Zoom meetings instead of in person, or does that take away from the person's ability to defend themselves, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the Supreme Court had to actually make some changes to what is allowed in person, what is allowed to be Zoom or video court. So I think once we get back to normal, whatever, and I think it'll be a new normal, I think your point is well taken, that there will be things that are more Zoom and more video, but there are things that will go back to in-person only, so they can face their accuser and all of those things that that they're allowed to do and is their right. But I do think we're going to see some change there, and we'll see more Zoom and more video court being used by our courts and courts throughout the state. But it does create work on the other end where we have to have somebody, more than one person. We have multiple video units in the jail. So trying to schedule all that isn't as easy as what it used to be when it was more limited court, video court.
I have one other question. Where is all this meth coming from? I mean, that statistic shocked me, and it like puts a pit in my stomach. I have little kids, and you know, how do you get rid of them?
Yeah, most of the meth that we're seeing is coming from Mexico, but you know, it's making its way up here through Chicago, Minneapolis, Detroit, Milwaukee. Chicago and Milwaukee being our larger distributors. It is shocking, and you know, with heroin, yes, you can die the first time that you use it, and some people do, and it's extremely addictive, but it doesn't have the same psychological factors that meth has, where people become paranoid. As I stated, the guy who's 6-month-old, he said, was taken hostage, and he had dropped it in the yard in 30-degree weather. So, very alarming, and it's so behavior changing, and it does increase the other crime that goes with it, as does heroin with property crime and being able to support your habit. If you're a heroin addict, typically you don't have a job, but same thing applies to meth, and it does change your personality, and it's a slower death typically, but it will kill you.
Say, John, with all the things that, well, I guess all the publicity and all of the attacks on law enforcement, has that resulted in you as a department doing things internally, providing additional training or marketing communications with the communities? What types of things have you had to undertake as a result of that?
Yeah, great question. And yes, it has changed. It's not only changed, we have body cams and have for all of our patrol officers for a number of years, about 3, I believe. We've had squad car cameras for much longer than that, I believe about 2010. But everything is videotaped. And, you know, unfortunately, in some ways it's helped us in that sense. I mean, we have a complaint that's against a deputy. It's pretty simple. I mean, we go back to the video and we tell the person, hey, we'd love to meet with you, review the video together. Typically it's over because there's maybe an underlying reason why they filed the complaint, but it has changed, and we have done things differently. We had Kelly Leadership Group. Alonzo Kelly runs a leadership group, and we brought him in, I think it was about April, actually May. We brought him in May. And he talked about what it's like to be a black man growing up in the Fox Valley. And a lot of this stuff, you know, I guess I never thought about. I never, you know, I only know what I know. And we talked about implicit bias, and that is not being racist, but I was brought up in a small community. I only have these experiences. I have a lot of experience in the military with different races. So, but I still haven't experienced what it's like to live in the inner city as a black person, or you know what it's like to be Black in this area. So he talked about a lot of those different things, and he talked about techniques of being able to diffuse situations without making them worse by, simply the way we talk or what we don't say with nonverbals. And certainly it's helpful. I think we're going to see a lot more of that training. Our guys do a really good job. When you look at the number, we have almost 50,000 incidents of where we've had to take people into custody, or we've had contacts, 50,000 contacts with people in a year. And we have, I don't remember exactly, it's on our website, the use of force reports, but less than 50 use of force with that many contacts. So it says a lot to the people that work here. It says a lot to the people that we're hiring and training, but it will change, how we train our deputies and how law enforcement is trained in general. It's becoming more difficult to find people that want to enter in this line of work. You're under a lot of scrutiny. And I know that we enjoy a lot of support from our community here. It's phenomenal, but that's not true everywhere. And we do feel, when an officer does something that they shouldn't have done and something that's blatantly wrong, we feel that here as well, even though we've done nothing that is even similar to that. So yeah, it's going to change, and it's going to change for good reasons. And I think we're going to see positive change.
Any other questions? We've got about 5 minutes left. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Sheriff Matz, for all of your insight and for talking to us today. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. For our December meeting, we are hoping to resume in person. So our goal is to resume in person in December back at Les Shores. And in December, we have John Casper and Rob Clayman. So that is our December 3rd meeting, and they're going to be talking about the Oshkosh Chamber of Commerce and what the Commerce has been doing with some of the local businesses and how they have supported them throughout COVID. So we are excited to hear from them. And we thank everyone for their time. Thank you again, Sheriff Matz, and everyone enjoy the nice weather that we're having. So thank you, and hopefully we will see you all in December.